do you have anything to add or anything that you'd like to see? I mean, part of the survey is getting at is what do you think needs to happen? Like, could there have been a factor that was different that would have changed things for you?
Yeah, I think part of why things sort of got to a fevered pitch here in part is I think generally in animal welfare, and especially in organizations that have some government component, so like ACT-Philly, we're a private nonprofit, but we have a government contract. I think there's lack of clarity around what an organization can and cannot do with regards to separating from problematic people, whether they're volunteers or rescue partners or what have you. And of course, there's always like the conflict of the value that they bring, versus the damage that they cause. But I know certainly for us here, we have had lack of clarity around what steps we could even legally take to hold them accountable and to protect ourselves and protect our staff. And I think because of that, they have been able to really just do what they do without any accountability, without any concern that, it may impact their ability to be involved in the future. I think this situation with Summer and I exiting, has prompted our board of directors to take a closer look at that and engage an attorney and figure out exactly, where the line is in terms of legality. But I could see that, having clarity around that conversation, elevating that conversation. I think there's lots of organizations and individuals in a similar position that just really aren't sure what they can do. And so maybe that's, a conversation that can be hosted on this kind of forum to point people in the right direction.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too, Aurora. I think the situation here that made it so much more challenging was that it was really not just, as we talked about last week, people who aren't even affiliated with our organization, the keyboard warriors, if you will, but it really has been partnerships and volunteers, and there's almost like internal, you're just surrounded by it. So and they're organized together and so damaging to the work that's trying to be done. So I think that is something that I would make sure to kind of highlight and look into.
Do you think, and I guess this is for the group, 2 questions, and it sounds like we do have 9 more minutes for this discussion. So if you want to stay on, we're going to move the cat topic to next week. Had some technical difficulties. So I guess there's 2 questions that come to mind. One is your budget, one of the lowest in the nation. You and Palm Valley have a lot of similarities in terms of a budget that actually makes the work untenable. And then the other thing is that there seems to be a real confusion around First Amendment rights and harassment. And I don't know the line. Like I've seen the things that are being said about Aurora, and it seems like slander to me or libel. It seems like a legal crossing of a line. But do you 2 want to comment on either of those things or anyone else on the page? Because those seem like 2 key issues here.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think most recently, like last couple of weeks, I think there's a clear crossing of legal boundaries. I do think Summer and I are being slandered at this point. But I think there's been a progression, and I certainly am aware of conversations and criticisms that have been happening that are not rooted in fact, that are demonstrably wrong. But I would imagine that at least some of the people who are making those allegations, making those claims, believe them to be true. And so it's that, is it libelous if they actually believe that? And I think that's the gray area that gets tricky. And I think if we had an opportunity to address, or if we had confidence in our ability to address it at that stage, we probably wouldn't, or maybe we wouldn't be where we are now. But I think we missed that window when maybe it could have been reined in.
Can I jump in? Jump in really quick on that. This is Maddie from Better Together Animal Alliance. And when last time we were attacked, which was like for 3 months last year, our attorney said that anytime you're going after slander, because they were saying I was stealing from the organization and very direct comments around me, you have to sue or go after each person individually, which then becomes really expensive and hard. And every single time we contact an attorney, they said that number one, you won't win. Number two, you have to, sue every single person that's doing it. And number three, they'll post your filing online and it fuels the fire. So just my 2 cents.
If I could add, I just had a conversation yesterday with one of our sheriff deputies on this very topic. And I don't know if these codes are local codes or where he's going, but there are very clear criminal codes that he gave me. I have 3 of them on my thing, but the real gist of it was that for it to have any teeth, for the threat to have any teeth, it has to be direct. It has to say, I'm going to meet you on this time and I'm going to do this. There is a code for annoying calls or texts, but the thing is individual, as Mandy just said, and it has to be repetitive. So if somebody spams you with, like, the same person spams you 100 times with the same messaging, then there is a code to address that. But he said most people will change their social media handles or their emails that can make any email tag. And he also said that there is a code that says if it's a direct threat that keeps you from accomplishing your duties. So that does have a little more judgment to it, but it does have to be a direct threat. The rest of it, they're allowed to do anything they want to do.
Can I add something? This is Carolyn Harefield. I'm from Minneapolis, and if anybody's watching the news, we're kind of living in a war zone right now. So the reality is that if you're a government official, there is no defamation that can happen against you. I mean, it's outside of terroristic threats or someone actually physically attacking you. The burden to prove defamation or slander is extremely high for government officials. It's just something that we're expected to take, but it does take a tremendous emotional toll on us. I know I've personally been attacked. I've been attacked just have no idea how many times I've been attacked. It's gotten to the point where it's sort of laughable. I tell them the line starts to the left. They're welcome to stand in it. And I think that's a big thing, is that we really need to change some of these laws. So, like, some of the laws she mentioned don't exist in Minneapolis. You can cuss at me, you can touch me, you can do whatever you want here in this nice liberal city. So it's pretty scary. And our staff are living, I don't know how everybody else is, but our staff are living literally in a war zone here, where their lives are in jeopardy every second here in the city. So, we're working really hard here, but I just wanted to put out there that there's a difference between private entities and public entities in how this impacts us. It impacts everybody in a negative way, but I just want to put that out there. Sorry, I'm already.
Can I just add something? I had a thought triggered, and the issue of, like, government entity and private entity probably still exists with this, but I think one thing that we do have a little bit more control over is when employees are involved, and sort of setting a standard and a tone in our organizations and in our industry that bullying and personal attacks on other animal welfare professionals or organizations is not tolerated and is grounds for termination. One of the central people that really has driven the escalation here in Philly as of lately is a former employee of ours who is currently employed at an animal welfare organization in a completely other part of the country. He actually flew back to Philly yesterday to attend a protest calling for Summer and my resignation. You know, and I've been in communication with his current director and have really implored her to separate from him and send a message that, you know, hacking into other people's software systems and disseminating information that you know is wrong, and feeding a narrative is not okay and is a terminable offense, because it should be.
Thank you. Okay, we are at the end.